Hey, how's it going? Ezekiel the Barber, back with more content for you. We have a new haircut today for you today. Today's haircut is a drop fade, number one on the side with a trim on top, with a slight graduation. This is a custom cut, so that's basically why I wanted to do the video. Thought it would be a good video to share. Let's find out what my client wants me to do today.
Because I want it like this also. Like, see how, like, obviously they're going to take right there.
So it seems like so far a drop fade with a 1 going into a 3. That's for the sides with a taper. And then for the top, he wants it basically to go from longer in the front to shorter in the back. So basically a custom cut. And a lot of times clients do bring pictures or have visions of haircuts that they want you to do or try and bring to life. So that's basically the job of a barber or a hairstylist. So, all right, so we're gonna start today's haircut with that number 1 that he specified that he wanted on the side going into that 3. So we're going to use the Oster Octane cordless clipper with a number 1 metal guard. This is a little before shot for you all. See how everything looks kind of before. All right, so let's go ahead and start our first guideline. I'm going to start the first guideline. Remember, it is a drop fade, so I want to insinuate sort of a drop in this fade. So we're going to start pulling that hair back. I like to kind of use hair clamps just to kind of keep the hair out of the way that we plan to keep to make sure that that doesn't get cut. Yeah, you don't want to cut that. So since we have that hair out the way, we'll go ahead and start our guideline. So as you can see, I'm basically extending the guideline from about its temple area. And then we work our way down below the occipital bone. It has a slant in the fade or a drop in the fade. That's where you get the term drop fade. So we're just using that number 1 guard, just making sure that this guideline is smooth all the way around. You don't want to go up too high. Remember, we are going to eventually go to the next guideline, so you don't want to mess that up. All right, just using the blow dryer to keep any hair debris off your client. Going back over that guideline, just making sure it's nice and clean. Pulling that ear, keeping it out of harm's way, getting any hairs that are back there. All right, so as you can see, that guideline's pretty smooth. We'll just eventually go to some fast-forwarded frames so you don't have to see the whole thing. But that first side kind of gives you an idea of how clean and how many times you kind of go, that I had to go over it just to get it the way I wanted it. Everything nice and smooth. There's those fast-forwarded frames for you, pulling that ear back. And once again, I want to keep that hair out of the way, so I put that hair clamp there, keeping that ear out of harm's way. There it is, pulling that ear, keeping it away from the blade. Always want to keep safety first. All right, so here is that number 3 guard. So we're using the Oster Octane. I have the 000 metal guard on, and then I just put that Andis Master number 3 guard on. So we'll set our next guideline. So here we are now. Right. So my main objective is just like the first guideline, just try and get everything as smooth and as even as possible. Make sure everything looks balanced, even. Always want to use a comb to get any hair that's already been cut off so you can see exactly what you're working with. All right, so for here, I have the number 1 guard with that same Oster Octane clipper. And then we're just basically using a comb, clipper over comb technique. Now this is basically to get any of that long hair or weight that's transitioning into the top of his head from the side. So as you can see here, I'm just getting a lot of that weight out, shaping or chiseling at the hair to kind of shape it the way I need it to go. And basically the look that I'm going for is I want it to kind of round into the top. Definitely take a lot of that weight out of there. So I like to use that clipper over comb technique in that region to basically get that hair intact. All right. So in this case, we'll go ahead and go back to that fade. I like to cut to a look. I think that the guidelines are pretty much set now. So all I have to do is blend out that middle line. So right now, I just kind of want to focus on the top. And I find out what his wishes are for the top. It's pretty long right now. Looks like he's trying to take off quite a bit. So I like to kind of get the mirror to my clients, find out where they want to be. He's showing me the slope that he wants. I like asking these questions just to make sure that I get that much closer to what my client wants. Right. So I'm using the shears here, just basically chiseling at the hair, creating the slope that he wants. Right, so that looks pretty much close to that slope. So then here, I definitely like to go back to that clipper over comb technique with the number 1 to kind of chisel out the back of that hair, make things kind of blend in together a little bit more. So I'll take quite a bit of hair off in this region. Then I still kind of like to find out how much they want off, if that's something that, you know, he feels will be trouble, or if that's something that he thinks that he could work with. Right here, I'm just chiseling, taking a little bit more off until he tells me that we're basically good. That really customizes the haircut experience for your clients. All right, so looks like that side is coming together a little bit. Once again, I do like to cut to a look. So everything looks pretty good on this side. So maybe for now, we'll go ahead and start working on the other side, see if we can make things a little bit more even. Looks like he's okay with this right side. So I just want to see if I can get that other side to kind of balance and look just like or similar to the other side. All right, so cool. So let's go ahead and start working on this side. Basically like to do the same thing. Now to find the next guideline, what I like to do is once I find a good length on one side for the client, I'll grab a portion of that hair and a portion of the other side that hasn't been cut, find that guideline, and then just basically cut it from there. Can't really see it from that angle, sorry about that. So yeah, you're just basically grabbing a portion of the hair that has been cut, a portion that hasn't from one side, and then that's how you find the guideline. So then now that I have my new guideline, I'll take that little portion of hair and then follow that all the way around as you see me doing here. So that gives me a pretty good indication, though it's not always perfect. You'll always have to kind of go back and double and triple check your work just to kind of make sure things look and appear that much more even. Okay, so next up, here we are with the clipper over comb again, just to keep everything balanced as we did on the other side. Still using that number 1 metal and the Oster Octane cordless clipper, just chiseling out that back area and the cowlick area. Now this area does tend to grow pretty fast on most individuals, so a lot of times I'll kind of chisel round this area in, take it a slight bit shorter than I do everything else, just because it does grow out a little bit faster for most. I'll do a little freehand, so a little clipper over comb, little freehand in there as you see. Gotta be really sturdy with your hands there. So here, I'm just kind of want to make sure that everything's balanced as you see me combing everything out in the desired way. I noticed that there's hair a little bit longer in this area, so I just kind of want to make sure that I get that even. So as I look over, right, looks like we're about good there. Always want to use safety and sanitation as your number 1 objective whenever you're dealing with clients. Definitely critical. So here, I'm using shear over comb technique. Just chiseling out at that cowlick area, rounding things in, using the shears to give it a more natural look. Then I'm also using, in this case, texturizing or thinning shears. So this just thins the hair out, adds a little bit more texture to the style, makes it a little bit more easier for your client to style his hair or style their hair, comb through their hair. Takes a lot of that weight out. And then I always want to use a blow dryer to keep any hair that I just cut, make sure I get that out. This is important to basically see what the new consistency is, get a good assessment at what the hair is actually gonna look like. Okay, so I always like to periodically give my client the mirror just to kind of make sure that everything's looking and going as planned. Take some time to get some hair up. All right, so everything looked pretty good to him, so now it's time to go ahead and get that fade in. We're gonna use that zero guard with that lever all the way open. And we're just gonna follow the same guideline that we initially set before with the same drop in the slope. Just gonna go about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch up. Once again, that lever is all the way open. Eventually, once I go all the way around, then I'll close that lever and attack that bottom line, that bottom hard line that you'll see there. So I'll just fast forward the frames. We're just gonna go all the way around. All right, and then eventually we'll go to the number 1 guard and we'll go through the same process. I'll go up about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch up. There it is there. And we'll just follow the same system and sequence. And then eventually we'll go to the number 2 guard, open that lever up, go up about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch higher. There it is there. It's that number 2 guard. As you can see, we're kind of going in a few different directions. Left to right, up, down, left, right. This just helps ensure that that fade is that much cleaner, that much smoother. As you see me using the comb to keep the hair that I don't want to cut away from the clipper. And then so here we'll just go ahead and attempt to start doing the lineup. I'm using the Babylis Pro trimmer, the Graphite Blade 2.0 edition. Probably my favorite liner or trimmer. Now I like this clipper because it does have longer teeth, so in cases where your clients have long hair, like in this case, where you still need to do that lineup, it's pretty much no problem for those teeth to cut through the hair. Sometimes if you have trimmers with smaller teeth, it's almost impossible to really get those clippers to grab the hair. So definitely like the blade on these trimmers. Right. So I kind of like to go with the natural contour of the head. As you can see here, the lineup definitely makes things pop out a little bit more. Just repeating the same steps on the opposite side. Definitely want to keep everything even. Whatever strokes you do on one side, you want to do on the other side. Going with a really soft and easy touch. You don't have to go hard. Just allowing the blade to do the cutting. You just have to really guide the clipper more than anything. Right, just balding some of the facial hair out, going into the taper. All right, so everything's looking pretty good here. Looks like we're just about finished. Yeah, just cleaning everything up a little bit more. All right, that pretty much wraps it up for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning. Wait. We got more work to do? Oh. As always, guys, you gotta double and triple check your work. So right now, yeah, I know, my man, we're back to doing a little bit of cleanup work. So I'm using that number 2 Andis Masters guard. Just cleaning things up a little bit more wherever I see any dark areas. You just want to make sure you go back and double and triple check your work sometimes just to make sure that your product is that much more efficient and clean. All right, so just going back over the lineup. All right, so using the Andis Masters cordless trimmer again, just cleaning that taper up. Eventually, we're going to start working on that back taper. Here we are now. We're going to close that lever all the way up. It's going to give you sort of a bald look. We'll start at the bottom, and then eventually I'll open that lever up halfway. That's what I really like about the Andis cordless clippers is they actually have notches that kind of keep you guided to what length is what. So whenever I'm looking for a bald, I'll have that lever all the way closed. Whenever I'm looking for a half, I'll open it halfway. There it is there. If I'm looking for a true number one, I'll just open that lever up all the way. Right now, we're looking for a half, going about a 1/4 of an inch up than we did from the bald look. And then eventually I'll open that lever up and go about another 1/4 inch up. Now, fading is basically a process or a combination of opening and closing that clipper lever. The closer that I am to the top of that guideline, I'll open that lever up. The closer that I am to the bottom of that guideline or hard line, I'll simply close that lever up. So here, guys, we're just looking to add a little bit of water, some moisture to the equation. Things just work a lot better when water's in the equation, keeps the hair together a lot better. Using the comb just to kind of comb everything out on both sides even, just to kind of make sure that the look is that much more even. As you can see here, I'm using that comb to keep the hair out that I don't want to cut, making sure that the lineup looks good from that angle as well. Everything's together. All right. So the taper looks pretty good. The lineup work in the front looks pretty good. It's time to start completing this haircut, adding the lineup work to the back. So that's what you see me doing here. Just taking really light strokes. And I like to cut from top to bottom, bottom to top. You see this angle coming down and then vice versa. Here, there you go. And then keeping everything even, just doing the same thing on the other side. Right. So once again, this is a shadow taper. So he just kind of wanted things to start bald, going into a 1, right into a 3, where he wanted things to look a little bit darker. So as you see me getting the hairs here. All right, so that's pretty much wrapping up today's haircut. I think hopefully this time we should be good to go. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe. This is a before shot. All right, this is kind of a little angle there, boom. And then this is kind of currently where we're at. So this is the after. All right. All right, thanks so much for watching. Until next time.